Hello folks, and welcome back to the channel. So I have been waiting for well over a week, maybe more, to try and make this video, but due to the snow and ice in England, it's not really been possible to get any onboard footage. But just prior to Christmas, Carpuride kindly sent me this, the W702BS, which is their latest, model specific for the BMW, as it includes Wonder Wheel integration and also the bike information that is also shown on the TFT. So yeah, here it is. I'm just on my way back from the BMW dealership. My bike does have a couple of little issues that they're awaiting information and parts on. I might, cover that in another video. But yeah, so I am a long time Carpuride user. My second Apple CarPlay unit that I bought for a bike was the Carpuride W702, the original, which I have had on this bike for the best part of a year. I've done 8,000 miles with it, if not more, and I absolutely love it. I have had a few, software issues with it, which were very quickly rectified. And unfortunately, my original unit went faulty in August, which was a shame, as it was the second day of a trip through Spain. However, that was very quickly replaced by Carpuride. But very lovely. Just riding very gingerly, as I've had new tyres fitted this morning, and it is a little bit sketchy. So yeah, one of my biggest criticisms with the Carpuride W702, the original model, is that it didn't have any auto brightness. It's not the end of the world, but also the screen, you could use it with thick winter gloves on, like these. I think these are Risha Gore-Tex Street Touring ones. Although it worked, it was not quite as sensitive as I would have liked. So I've always been hoping that they will bring out a version with a better screen, which they obviously did not so long ago with the 702 Pro, and also a way to use the BMW Wonder Wheel, which they also now have done. So let's roll the intro, do the unboxing, do a bit of a walkthrough, and we'll come back after that.
Okay, well, let's do what will probably be the quickest unboxing on this entire channel that I've ever done. So there we go. That's everything. So, and that is because it is obviously the BMW specific option. So we don't get the little fly lead here with the little quick release on this. So this is only for motorcycles with the BMW cradle or the nav prep, as it's often referred to. And by the looks of it, this mount is not intended to be removed. On the side, we obviously still have the power switch and the SD card slot. But yeah, from the front on, and most other angles it looks incredibly similar to the W702 that I already have. I've never actually tried the 702 Pro. I wasn't lucky enough to get my hands on one of those, but from what I understand, this is more or less a W702 Pro, but with the BMW specific internals to read the information out of the actual bike. Now, one question I have already been asked, which the answer is unfortunately no, is can the W702 Pro be upgraded to read the TFT information just by a software update? The answer is no. I'm assuming there are some more or different sort of, you know, chips inside to handle that. So unfortunately, that is not going to happen, even though it may actually have all of these, you know, pins on it. So that is a no. So let's get this on the bike. We'll run through the changes over the W702 original that I've had on my bike for the last 8,000, 9,000 miles. And we'll see what Carpuride have done with the their interpretation of, you know, reading out the information from the TFT. For comparison purposes, sorry, before I go and put this on the bike, this is my, you know, 702 that I've had. Well, this is a replacement unit because I did have a problem with the touch input on the screen after about 6,000 miles. But Carpuride replaced that immediately. Because mine is the original, I actually bought this, you know, 3D printed adapter from a chap in, I think he was in Portugal. At the time, Carpuride didn't have their BMW-specific, you know, adapter. And then about a week after I bought this, they released it. So, yeah, you know, but, you know, as you can see, it does mean that obviously the new unit sits much sort of closer to the nav cradle than this one does. I mean, this is absolutely fine. I think the new unit also sits slightly higher because some people saw some of the pictures of this on my bike and said, you know, does it not block the top line of the TFT? And it did a little bit, but from what I understand, this is actually raised up. So yeah, more or less exactly the same on the outside. But one difference I have noticed that I think is also on the 702 Pro. I thought this was a little scratch. You might not be able to see it. That, I believe, is the light sensor, because one thing that I did not complain, but I wasn't as happy about on this is that it didn't have a light sensor. So when I rode at night, I had to go in and slide the brightness all the way down. Whereas on this, I believe it should do it itself. Anyway, let's get it on the bike and we'll have a look and see what's what. Okay, so let's go through initial setup of the unit. So when you actually power it on for the first time, you will note that I've already changed the logo, which is very straightforward. So this is the first thing that you are presented with. Now I'm trying to film both the Wonder Wheel and the screen at the same time. So let me just get rid of that. So this is obviously the bike information screen, and obviously this information is being read off of the bike itself. So what we're going to do is a few things to note. So we have obviously the brightness controls up here, which is obviously set on auto right now. We have a mode selector, so we can change to night view. I'm going to leave it like this because it's the easiest to sort of capture on camera. We have revs down the side. Obviously up here we have the lean angle, the trip, which is the trip for the unit itself. That is not reading the trip information off of the bike. Obviously, how many miles the bike has on it, the battery voltage, whether the fuel level is low or not, engine temperature, front and rear TPMS, and this little bar here, which you would imagine would be for the fuel, is actually the throttle. So if you look there, you can see it opening and closing there. So anyway, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to switch back to the main screen of the unit, which is pretty familiar. So it's more or less the same as the original W702, and I believe it's probably identical to the W702 Pro. So obviously the Pro, like this, has the compass, which I can't currently calibrate because obviously you have to do it in a sort of figure of 8, which is impossible when it's in the bike. So we're going to skip that for now, and then we're going to move on to the other stuff, which is all pretty normal stuff. If you've had one of these, we can go into Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, phone music, the memory card. We can change the audio output because I just pair directly to my phone, so I have this in iPlay Auto. I never use the BT Trans option. In terms of the screen, my understanding is that this is pretty much the same as the 702 Pro. So it has the auto brightness on it, which the original W702 did not have. So the light sensor's here. So if I just put my finger over it, in a moment, hopefully, there you go, it's going to dim down, and then it should obviously brighten up in a moment. It can take a little while for it to respond, but there you go, we're back up to full brightness. So let's go back to the bike information screen, and aside from everything that I've already mentioned, obviously we have front and rear brake, indicators. Interesting that that's not showing on the screen. It was working earlier. I'm just going to press and hold up to enter the nav mode. There we go. We can see that that's popped up at the top. Yeah, now that's working. So that is something I noticed with the Chiggy unit as well. So I think it's a little quirk of reading the information out of the bike. Obviously we have the gear indicator in the middle, and then we have this little extra eye icon which shows engine coolant temp, voltage, the range to empty, and the TPMS. Now what you can do, if you load a file onto an SD card, FAT32, not too big of a card, I think anything under 32 gig will be fine. And if you call the file motoicon.png, motoicon.png, and it needs to be 437 by 280 pixels with a transparent background. That is important. Then what you can do is load that onto the card, insert it, and then on this screen you can press 6 times and that will load in the image. Now obviously you need to make sure that the image has the bike facing that way, but yeah, if anyone's struggling with that, feel free to email me. My link tree is in the description. I will happily try and do that for you and send you back the correct file that you need. What I'm going to do before I show the Wonder Wheel, I'm going to get my phone paired, which, as with any of these units and any sort of wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, is very straightforward. So what we're going to do is, if you can see this, is we're going to search for it, and there it is, and we're going to join that Bluetooth pair, allow, and then it may ask for Apple CarPlay. Yes. And then hopefully in a moment, and there we go, straight into Apple CarPlay. Let's very smooth. You'll see in the ride footage, shortly that works fine with my winter gloves. I've got Risha Gore-Tex gloves, and it works absolutely fine with them. I do think it is a little bit more sensitive and easier to use than the original W702. Might just be my imagination, but yeah, let's move on to the Wonder Wheel side of it, because that's really the main sort of difference. If you've already got either the W702 or the 702 Pro, and you're wondering why you would want to buy one of these, obviously the two draws are going to be the bike information screen and the Wonder Wheel integration, which the Wonder Wheel integration I think is probably the biggest sort of draw. So let's see if I can do this and film both. So what we can do, obviously we're already in nav mode. So if I press down again on that obviously takes us back to TFT mode. But if I press and hold up, we're into nav mode. So you'll notice that the phone icon there is highlighted. So if I scroll down, as you can see, we're moving through the icons, and that's going to take us to the next page. And then what you'll also notice is if I press and hold on the indicator cancel button, it immediately moves to the second row, removing some of the need to scroll. And then if I do a single press, that obviously jumps us up to the top row. Now, if I do a long right press, that activates Siri, which I'm going to cancel. And if I do a long left press, that brings us back out into this menu. If I do another long left press, we go straight back into Apple CarPlay. If I do a single right press, that obviously opens the application or whichever icon is highlighted. So if I do that, we go back out through the menus. So I can also go through these, say go into settings, etc, etc. So if I do another long left press to bring us back out to here, if I now do a single left press, that takes us into the bike screen. If I do another long left press, that brings us back out to here, so on and so forth. Now, what you will notice is if nothing is highlighted on this screen, if I go up and down with that, I get the media volume up and down. Now, obviously, because my headset isn't paired to this, that obviously doesn't make any difference. But if I do a single right press, I get the volume control. I can obviously knock it out of auto there, or I can switch it back. Now, if I press the indicator cancel button, what you'll notice is the two icons in the bottom left-hand corner will be highlighted. And then I can roll between either of those, and I can choose that screen, exit out of it, long left press back to here. And then you'll notice that iPlay is the one that's in focus. And if I do a single right press, we're back into Apple CarPlay. Simple as that. I've found this incredibly easy to use. So yeah, it's I think whether you're coming from the 702 or the 702 Pro, even the 502 or the 502 Pro, the Wonder Wheel integration is probably the biggest reason that you would want to buy this one. So one thing I will note on this screen that I would have noticed it eventually in the instructions, but my good friend Neil over at NJW Moto pointed this out to me, is if you when out of the box, this will be in kilometers an hour, which might be fine for you. But if you live here in England, you'll want to switch it to miles. If you do a long press on the speedo, there you go. It obviously changes over to kmh, and then we go back to miles. So one extra thing I wanted to cover quickly before we move on to the ride footage is the comparison of the screens between the original W702 and this new 702BS, which, as I said, I believe the screen is the same as that on the 702 Pro. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. And hopefully this is coming out on camera, but you will already see that if I try and dull that down, the newer model, so this has no brightness control at all. In terms of the smoothness of it, although it's quite smooth, it's fair to say that the new one is definitely snappier. But yeah, on this one, my biggest criticism, it does have night and day modes, but they don't really seem to do much for the brightness. So like I say, hopefully you're able to see that one is definitely brighter than the other, which is another good thing, especially in really bright sunny conditions, which is the only criticism of the screen that I had, aside from the auto brightness thing, was the fact that there is a little bit of glare on it in bright light, and occasionally this one was a little bit hard to see. But hopefully you can see from this that the new model is definitely brighter. So yeah. Okay, so time for my final thoughts on the Carpuride BMW-specific 702BS model. First of all, I just want to say my stammer has been a little bit worse than usual, recently. I don't know if that's because work has been very, full on, not sleeping great, but I have had a couple of, comments on a couple of my videos recently, asking me if I'm all right, and in one instance, maybe I should get myself checked out. So I just wanted to reiterate something that I did do a dedicated video about. I think one problem I have by calling my channel The Stammering Biker is in the UK, my speech, problem, condition, whatever you want to call it, is often referred to as either a stammer or a stutter. I have always referred to it as a stammer, but I am aware that in the US, it's often, or I'm led to believe that it's more commonly referred to as a stammer. A stutter. So I think there has been a little bit of confusion over A, the name of my channel, and B, the way that I talk has been interpreted as being a bit strange, even garnering a few negative remarks. But I just wanted to say, sorry, it's a little bit worse than usual, especially on this video. I found myself using a lot of filler words, which I already do anyway, but I seem to have said the word obviously so many times that it's quite honestly wound me up. So apologies for that. I have a feeling, some of these videos are going to be a little bit like that. The video's been a little bit scrappy, been a bit all over the place because of work. The weather here, it's been -7, ice on the road, so it's been a little bit, hit and miss. Anyway, with that out of the way, just one thing, I've now hit just over 10,000 subscribers, so thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed. If the videos that I make are of interest, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. hitting like on this video. Please leave a comment. Always happy to have any, you know, feedback, you know, things that you want more of, you know, maybe less of. Try to be nice about it if you can. Anyway, but yeah, I'd love to love to get a bit more sort of feedback on the kind of videos, how I make them. I'm kind of limited in my shed in terms of the size. I wish I had sort of, you know, dedicated areas to unbox things, you know, sit behind and, you know, kind of frame things a little bit easier. But yeah, this shed is a bit small. Anyway, with that said, what I think of this, would I buy one? And oh yes, that reminds me, I've been a Carpuride affiliate for quite a while. However, that was after the videos that I'd already posted, so there is a discount code in the description. As with all of my others, it's the Stammering Biker. At, you know, checkout, I believe it knocks 30% off. So if you do consider buying one, then please do use that code. You know, if not, that's fine. So yes, here, having been a W702 user for quite some time, it's the bike screen that I've probably used the most. Do I think this is a solid upgrade? Absolutely yes. If you're coming from a regular W702, you will notice the screen brightness. You'll, you know, benefit from the auto brightness. You will obviously benefit from it. What to me seems to be a little bit smoother and more responsive. If you're a W702 Pro user, I'm led to believe you're not going to be getting any benefits in terms of the actual screen. However, I think the biggest advantage, as I've already said, is if you are a BMW rider and you have the nav prep on your bike and you want to use the Wonder Wheel integration, then it is a game changer, especially if you've been used to the BMW Nav 4, 5 or 6, or you have the, I think it's called the Connected Ride Navigator, and you've gotten used to that Wonder Wheel control. Absolutely brilliant. That and the 7-inch, you know, screen size are the things that I enjoy the most. The bike information, I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. It's nice. Would I really spend a lot of time with it just on that bike info screen? Honestly, probably not. But yeah, for me, the Wonder Wheel integration combined with the brighter screen and the big, you know, 7-inch screen size are the things that I love the most about this. One question I've seen on a couple of, you know, Facebook groups is, does the unit block the top line of the TFT when it's in the cradle? I believe I from memory, the W702 with the BMW-specific mount did, and then I believe Carpuride released a modified version that raised it up slightly. Having ridden with this now, I can say it ever so slightly, you know, cuts in. I'm 6'2", or 187 centimeters, and it just touches the top line. All I have to do to be able to read it is just do that, or a slight hunch, ever so slightly, and it's absolutely fine. If I had any criticisms of the unit, I would say I only have two. One minor, which is, I wish the screws for the SD card slot were, you know, captive, because they are incredibly small and I have dropped them countless times. And that leads me nicely on to the second, thing that I would really like to see Carpuride, resolve, which is a gripe I had with the original, and that is over-the-air updates. I don't mind doing, you know, software updates by putting the files onto an SD card and putting it into the unit. But if you're out and about and traveling, like I was in May, and I had a few software, you know, glitches with the original unit that I had, you know, fair play. They sent me a software update within a day, but at the time I didn't have an SD card with me, so I had to go out and buy one. And the instructions strongly recommend that you only do it on a Windows computer. I managed to get away with it, but the instructions highly imply that you could be at risk of, you know, bricking the unit. So I would really, really, really love there to be an over-the-air update sort of process, or at the very least, a software update page that you could go and download the latest for your unit. Having to email support every time and not actually knowing if there is, you know, any update is probably the biggest frustration. I mean, obviously, if you're not having any issues with it, then you probably don't care. But anyway, that is my top thing that I would like to see Carpuride, you know, do. Aside from that, it's a great unit, and yeah, I hope this video has been of some use. Like I said, there is a discount code in the description if you wish to use that. If not, I have some more, you know, Apple CarPlay screen type stuff on the horizon, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.